Hello, my name is Sean Hall, and this is my SFL 260 final presentation. Today we're going to be looking at a case scenario of myself in 2 years to see whether this individual should buy a modest home, dream home, or should rent. So this is Sean. He recently graduated, is from a master's program, and he now has an entry-level job working as a film archivist in the Los Angeles area. He's single, social 25-year-old who loves movies and loves spending time with others, and he wants to have a home that is a place where he can entertain guests, whether friends and family. And he doesn't care as much about the size because he doesn't have too many belongings, but he just wants enough space for him to live and for him to entertain guests and make friends from that. His financial situation, he's working an entry-level job, making $36,000 a year, and hopes in the upcoming future move up the ladder in the industry to make more money. But right now he's kind of stuck at this $36,000 range. He's looking for an affordable and smaller home that can fit him, but still have a place where he can entertain guests. I'm using the 25% rule. He has $750 he can use for his monthly mortgage payment. Major thing that's holding him back is he has $20,000 in student debt with minimum payments of $250 each month. So that's going to limit him in some ways for home ownership. And this is his dream home. It's on the edge of Los Angeles near the National Forest, but it's still close to supermarkets and shopping centers, so a little bit more suburban, but out of the way. It has a small square footage, 745 square feet, but it has a huge lot, which Sean would love to use to entertain his guests in the warm climate of Southern California. Maybe put a nice movie screen up there for him to a theater in his backyard, which he would love. List price $150,000. Monthly principal is $716, which is less than his maximum payment of $750. So it's pretty close, and he has some room, but it would be a close fit. Interest payments 4%, and there's one bed, one bath, which would be fine for Sean living alone. His modest home's a lot cheaper, about a third the price. $40,000 would pay less than $200 a month on the principal. Interest payment would be 4%, and it would have 2 beds and 2 baths, which would be nice to have. This fits with Sean's goals because, again, it's in the suburbs, not quite as close to nature as the dream home, but it is still kind of out of this hustle and bustle of the city and still close to supermarkets and shopping centers. The square footage is 960 square feet, which is comfortable enough for Sean to live in and to have some place for guests to be. It is a mobile home, which Sean isn't too fond of, and also mobile homes don't appreciate that well. They don't have a lot of value behind them. So if Sean were to buy it in 30 years down the road, it wouldn't be worth much. Like we said, maximum mortgage payment $750, and so that's in his budget. Some other things that are important about Sean's budget: he makes $3,000 a month. He pays 10% of his tithing, with about $20 for other donations, whether that be fast offerings or other church-related or non-church-related donations. He has 10% of his income going to long-term and short-term savings combined. And his debt payments, he plans to pay $400 a month toward his debt, even though the minimum is $250, so he can get out of debt as soon as possible. And overall, he has zero surplus or deficit. He wants to make sure that he has enough income to support his expenses and to lower his expenses at the same time. His savings plan, in order to have a 3-month fund range, in order to have a 3-month emergency fund, it will take him 15 months, saving $300 each month in order to get $9,000 for his fund, which is about a little bit over a year, which isn't too long. In order for him to get a 10% down payment on his dream home, it will take him 50 months, saving $300 a month. And so overall, it will take him 65 months to save enough money for an emergency fund and to buy a home with a 10% down payment. A 10% down payment, though, he would have to pay for private mortgage insurance, which would increase his monthly payments on his home, which would hurt him financially. And so in order to get a 20% down payment, save enough money for a 20% down payment on his dream home, it would take him 150 months to get that 20% down payment and to get his 3-month emergency fund. So that'd be about 10 years. He'd be waiting 10 years in order to buy this dream home. So that's something to think of, maybe his income would increase later, but that's going to be a long time for him to get a reasonable price on his dream home. And so probably the modest home might be a better option if he wants to get a house sooner than later. Sean has a pretty good credit score, and so he hopes to take advantage of the fact that the higher a person's credit score, the lower their mortgage rates will be. And so by him having a better credit score, it will lead to a lower interest rate and monthly payment. His optimum mortgage term would be 15 years with a 20% down payment and a 4.25% interest rate. This would lower the overall amount of interest Sean would pay compared to loans where he might pay 10% down payment, or that would be 30 years long, or would have a higher interest rate. And so we can see from this slide that a good credit rate, kind of higher than 700, would end up potentially saving Sean $150 a month compared to a mediocre credit score. And because he has this good credit score, that's something that might incentivize him to buy a house while he has this high credit score, because he'd be able to pay less interest than if he had a worse credit score. His tax liability without a home is $375 around. And if he bought a home, his dream home, he would have $303 he would pay for monthly taxes. In a year, that's $852, which isn't too much money in the end from taxes. Getting that much money a year is definitely not worth all of the thousands of dollars it would cost for him to buy a home. And so taxes aren't a reason that he should buy a home. It would be a nice incentive to have the tax cut because he would have a less taxable income. But in the end, it really doesn't give that much money from taxes if he owns a home. And so he doesn't want to fall into the trap of thinking that he's missing out if he doesn't buy a home on a big tax cut, because he'd be saving so much more money if he didn't buy a home that he couldn't afford. So that's something that he needs to think about when deciding whether to buy or to rent. His homeowner insurance is going to cost him $155 a month, which is $1,860 annually. That's something that he needs to be aware of. And it's going to be a little bit more pricey in the Los Angeles area than in other cases, which is unfortunate, but just comes with him wanting to live in that area. His transportation he owns a 2006 Toyota Corolla, spends about $70 a month for gas, and he also uses public transportation on the side. The car does belong to Sean's parents, and there's no outstanding loan on it, so Sean doesn't have to pay monthly insurance because his parents graciously paid that for him. So that's not a long-term debt he has to worry about. Some long-term debts he does have to worry about, though, are tithing donations. That's $320 a month with fast offerings, other donations, and tithing. And then his student loans, $20,000 overall, and a minimum payment of $250. But in his budget, and his plan is $400 a month. And so he's going to include that in his PITI in order to accurately show what he's planning to pay towards student loans. Speaking of PITI, here it is. We looked at the back-end ratio, and you need 36% less of your gross income. You need to be able to, that's the highest amount you can have of debt. So you need to have 64% of your income available in order to realistically pay your mortgage each month and buy a home. And so overall, if you include the principal and interest, property tax, home insurance, and mortgage insurance of the dream house, it's $928 a month, as we can see from the picture. And so you add the mortgage with Sean's long-term debts of tithing and student loan payments, it's $1,533. That is much greater than $1,080. It's 36% of his gross income, and so he would not qualify for a loan for his dream house. However, the modest home is only $216 a month, and if you add that with his tithing and his student loan payments, it comes out to be $936, which is less than $1,080. So for his modest home, he would qualify for a loan and would be able to pay off the payments for that. So looking just at that, he'd probably be better off with the modest home than the dream home. And this is another important question of renting versus buying. Does Sean even want to buy in the first place? And the answer to that right now is that it looks like there's the pros of renting are more attractive than the pros of buying for Sean in his individual situation. By renting, he doesn't need to pay for home repairs. He can move if he gets a job offer somewhere else, job opportunity. He doesn't have to pay home insurance, and it's less expensive overall. And so while there are pros of buying a house, right now he doesn't want long-term commitment, which is a con of buying. And so he's better off renting right now because it will save him money in the short run while he can save up and he can get rid of his student loans. And so he'll be debt-free. And later, when he makes more money, he can buy a house. And so right now, renting is kind of a better option for him. Another important aspect of home ownership is interest rates. And so here's a chart showing for the dream home, how much money it would be with a 30-year loan versus a 15-year loan. And you can see that there is a huge difference between the two. The total interest paid of a 30-year loan is $135,000 more than the total interest paid for the 15-year loan. So Sean's really going to want to have a 15-year loan. In order to do that, he needs to have a lot more money than he currently does. And so this kind of shows how he should wait a little bit and rent before he buys, because he needs more money for his down payment. He needs more money for his monthly payment, which is more than the 30-year monthly payment, but will save him so much more money in the long run because it's a shorter amount of time for that. And so that's something he wants to do. He wants to save up more money so he can have a 15-year loan and save money on interest. In terms of investments for buying a home, the dream home will increase in value by about $20,000 in 30 years, whereas the modest home will only increase by $5,000 because it is a mobile home. There's not much value behind it. And so Sean wouldn't want to buy the house just so that it could increase in value for the modest home. And for the dream home, he's not going to want to buy it because if he uses money that could have gone towards the dream home once he buys the modest home, or
may I have your attention?
Sorry for the break. Had a short technological problem, but back on. And so we can see that the money saved, if Sean gets the modest home and used the money that would have gone to the dream home and invested that money, he would make about $2,900, $290,000, sorry. And so that's going to be a lot more than just gaining $20,000 on his dream home. So that's something, he shouldn't buy a home just to get equity, because he can invest the money that he would save on the dream home and get a lot more. And so, just in summary, we can make a decision on what the best housing option for Sean is, and it is none of the above. Renting is the best option for Sean. Some of the things that go against the dream home are that if he buys a dream home in order to buy his dream home with 20% down payment, it would take Sean nearly 10 years to do so. Sean would only save $852 a year on taxes, which isn't enough to commit to buying a house. Sean does not meet the back-end ratio for his dream home, and so it would be nearly impossible for him to do it at this time. The dream home would only be worth about $20,000 more after 30 years of ownership, and Sean can save much more money investing monthly. And so you think, well, the modest home should be good, right? But because Sean wants a more flexible lifestyle where he can move in order to get a job that is higher paying or is something that fits his interest, he's not going to want to buy a home. And also, the low value of the mobile home is not an incentive for him to buy it as an asset, as equity. And so it's better for him to just invest the money that he would spend on a home now, and get money to save up for a home later in life. And so for now, Sean is going to go ahead and rent an apartment until he has enough money saved up. And now, we got to go find an apartment. Thanks.